What is going on? We keep getting stuck on something, or at least I do. And I want to talk it through with everybody because if we really think about what the economy is or what the system is, we are the system, right? Like, we're the ones that do the actual work. We are the economy. All the economy is a bunch of companies, and we are the ones that make up the companies. It really is. We are the system. We do the work. But the system doesn't really work for us, does it? It works incredibly well for the people that are already rich, but it doesn't work for us. But we are the economy, and then the economy works against us and not for us. But the ultra wealthy, the rich people, they need us to get rich, but then they screw us over every chance they get. They literally can't do it without us, right? But then every chance they get, they squeeze us, they screw us over. And I think that we are just sick of this. I really think that people are sick of this. And it's crazy because we all feel this way, but we're like ashamed to say it out loud. Because even though we're all getting screwed over, they make it feel like it's our fault. So that's part of why we type the me's in the chat. Drop a me in the chat, y'all. Because, man, they make it feel like it's our fault, even though we know that they're screwing us over on purpose, right? And that's where I keep getting stuck on. Because if it was just like a few people, okay, maybe I can buy into the lies that they're selling us. But damn, when it's damn near 80% of people, 85% of people, that's not like people aren't trying, right? It's not like people aren't busting their ass for a company that's making billions of dollars. That's the truth right there. And we're the ones that help them make that money. What's up, Amelia? And that's what's so crazy is we do the work, we have the skills, we make the company the money, but then we don't get enough. And then they tell us, you're doing something wrong, right? They tell us you're doing something wrong, right, Tiger Burn? So that's where it feels like America is a big rigged carnival. That's what it feels like. America is a giant rigged carnival. And what's crazy is the carnival didn't used to be rigged. For our parents and the previous generation, the carnival was just fair. So now we go up to the carnival and it doesn't work at all. We're getting screwed every single step. But the people that work at the carnival and shoot, our parents and our grandparents, they are still saying, what's wrong with you? When we were kids, we were able to do this no problem, because they don't realize that the game is now rigged. And it's rigged in a way that it's so obvious. All that we're saying is that 40 hours a week should cover the basics. That's it. 40 hours a week should be enough for food, for housing, and for healthcare. Thank you, Naomi. Because it's crazy, y'all. It's crazy. It really is. We're not asking for luxury. I'm not saying everybody should have a boat and be eating crab legs, right? Well, it's not like that, Tiger Bird. I think it's more like this. It's like the basketball game or the ring toss. And we go up and we're like, hey, I was pretty good at basketball. I followed all the rules. I studied. I did what I was supposed to do. Let me go try the basketball game at the carnival. And your parents, they're like, oh, your dad loves to play this basketball game. He would make it all the time. And you're like, cool, I can make it too. I've been practicing for this. And you shoot it and clank, it doesn't go in. You shoot it and clank, it doesn't go in. And 8 out of 10 people, right? 8 out of 10 people miss the shot. But the carnival barker, they're making fun of you. Everybody around is making fun of you. So you feel like it's your fault. And then all the 8 out of 10 people that missed it, they walk away with their head hung low because they think they did something wrong. But y'all, we know what's really happening, right? That game is rigged. The ball is bigger than the hoop. And as soon as you learned out that the game is rigged, you feel better, right? You're like, shit, I don't know why they had to lie to me. I don't know why they had to screw me over, but I do feel better that the game was rigged and I wasn't doing something wrong. And then the very next question you ask is, how did this happen? Right? How did this happen? So let's talk about it. Because one of the main ways that it happened is that people get angry when you bring it up, a la our buddy Ron down there. Because all that I'm saying is, hey, corporations don't care about you. That carnival does not care about you. The corporations don't care about you. I don't think you can point at the health insurance industry and say, hey, that corporation cares about me. I don't think you can point at food companies that try to lie to you about what's in your food and say, hey, that cares about me, right? But Ben, it's not about your initial what's going on with you. It's, do corporations care about you? Do you get any, like, your medicine is controlled by a company that actively doesn't want to give you that medicine because they don't care about whether you survive or whether you've got quality of living. They just care about your their profit margin. And all that we're saying is that if a company is in charge of whether you live or not, I want that company to be incentivized, not by money. No. I want that company to be incentivized by whether or not you live and whether you have a quality life. I don't want the very same company that decides whether I live or not to only be incentivized by money. That doesn't make sense, right? It honestly doesn't make sense that we use money to incentivize people in the first place. Because do you know how many people that are as smart as Einstein have died in a factory because they were born to a janitor instead of being born to a factory owner? That's really the difference between somebody that has the skills and the brain of Einstein, whether they get the education. It's crazy that we're only making Einsteins nowadays if that Einstein was not born to a janitor, if that Einstein was born to somebody that's already rich and healthy, or rich and wealthy. But Bren, that's it. So you are doing one of the most important jobs that we could possibly have, fixing the sewer line. But it's some other company that runs the sewer line, even though like the sewer line should be ran by all of us. And what it is if you understand that the majority of people don't have savings, and they don't have savings, not because they are not, no, I'm with you. I'm just talking about the other people that aren't making a living wage. They aren't not doing so because they're being lazy or because they don't have skills. They're just getting screwed over. Here we go. That's what I was talking about. Because when you actually look at the numbers right there, average salary versus cost of living, man, in a lot of places, the cost of living is higher, which means every single month you're behind. And think about what that does to people. Think if you were $200 in the hole every single month. The farther behind you get, the more desperate you get. And the more desperate you are to get any job, right? Any job. And then if you're getting desperate because you're behind every month, then you're more and more likely to accept something that doesn't pay you enough. So you're getting farther behind now, or you're more likely to accept somewhere that treats you poorly. Jeff Lang, the cost of living is so high is because there's no competition amongst corporations. It used to be, well, it's not that the cost of living is high, it's that the salaries have not raised to stay with the cost of living. Because what used to happen is that employers had to pay their employees a good salary. enough for them to smile at work, to offer some customer service. Because if there was actually any competition, because right now, if you walk into Walmart and that you go, hey, can you help me with something? And that employee goes, no, screw you, and runs the other way, you're not going to walk out and go to a local general store, right? There is not a local general store. So Walmart doesn't need to pay their employees enough to smile because they know that the customer is never going to go anywhere else, right? Because we don't have any other options. So what companies figured out was that if they raise the price of Scotch tape, if they raise the price of tissues, we would just stop buying those things. So, but what they figured out is that if they own all the food, that we can't stop buying food. But BP, I guarantee a lot of the food that you're getting is from corporations. We can't not get our health insurance from a corporation, right? Your mortgage, your rent, that most likely is going to a corporation. Your medicine, your pharmacy. And so that's the thing is you can't boycott what you need to live. You can't boycott food. You can't boycott living in a house. You can't boycott healthcare. So they figured out that if they control all the things we need to live, then they have control over us. Because that's the point, is to have control over us. That's why they don't pay us enough to live. Because we should be making way more than the cost of living. But if we don't have any savings, they can control us. That's it. Because if you don't have 3 months of savings, if you don't have 6 months of savings, your boss can say anything to you. Hey, come in on Saturday and Sunday or else you're fired. It has nothing to do with printing too much money or anything like that. Corporations control all the pillars of power within our society. And that has led to a huge imbalance where corporations get everything that they want, and the people that actually do the work, that are the economy, the people get screwed at the expense of the corporations. You can see it with our stock prices going up and up and up, and the salaries staying the same. You can really just see it when you say, why does Walmart make $12 billion and then have millions of employees that don't make enough to live? Just wonder why. Then your next thought should be, if Walmart makes, if you had a company that made $12 billion and you had 3 million employees that were driving to work in a 20-year-old car, that had kids that were sick all the time because they couldn't go to the doctor. If you made $12 billion, yet you had 5 million employees that were on government housing expenses, then what, like you would pay your employees enough to live, because if you're intelligent, you would go, oh, if I pay minimum wage, I'm going to get minimum effort, right? But what Walmart does is Walmart understands Kroger is a corporation too, Jeff. Kroger is just as bad. And then what I can promise you is that Kroger and Walmart have the same top shareholders. It's either going to be Vanguard, BlackRock, or State Street, because all corporations, over 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders, right? Yeah, John, and that's where I got to stop talking to them, because I assume they're humans coming in good faith. But that's exactly what we need to understand, is that nobody actually wants this corporate hellscape. That the 30% of people that pretend like they do, they've been tricked and brainwashed by corporations. Because it is not difficult to see that when a company like Walmart that's making billions of dollars purposefully underpays their employees, that cost of living, their employees' cost to live, doesn't go away. If Walmart is only paying their employee $10 an hour, their landlord doesn't go, oh, we'll lower your rent so that you can afford it, right? No, not at all. What they do is then that employee has to go on housing assistance, which we all pay for. Matthew, thankfully, I've got 30 employees and they're all at work right now. So while you're sitting on TikTok wasting your time, I'm sitting on TikTok running a business. This is why I know that a business needs its employees to run, because I am the owner. I am not necessary. I do the facilitation. Right? The employees are the ones at work making the money. It's so funny when y'all come in like that. Well, the host should just open their own business. You should just become successful. Matthew, I did become successful, and that's what opened up my eyes to this. I have 6 locations. I can tell you are someone that has never thought about, what if I had to open up multiple locations, right? What if I had to? No, I'm just happy that you walked right into my trap. I'm like a spider that had a fly right into it. And I'm giddy with excitement. No, about you not understanding that once somebody has multiple locations, it's really like once a business owner wants to expand and make more profit beyond what they're trying to do, then they're not offering that job out of charity. This is what's so funny. You're asking about the greeter at Walmart. They're not offering that job out of charity. They make money on all those jobs. Micah, you are so right. They make money on these jobs, right? Shan, there you go. You're getting to it. I just take a little while to get to the bottom of the part. Yes, you're 1,000 times more fulfilled because you don't have to live your life based on money. You can live your life based on what you want to do. I was able to come here and talk to everybody. I was able to start multiple community-based organizations. It really is great because when you get to live for people, so I like to say like this, I don't live to make money. I live to make change. I live to make a difference. And we should set up our entire society so that people can live to make a difference. Because goddamn, it is really stupid when you have people that are as smart as Einstein going to work in a factory their whole life because they don't have access to education. That's it. Why is it that somebody who is born to a factory owner is going to automatically have a better life than somebody born to the factory employee? And y'all, you've got to understand with Scottsdale and Matthew here, do not let that sully your excitement. Only 30% of people want to live life this way. And the 30% of people that sit there and defend the billionaires, they've just been lied to. They just have been told that 2 + 2 = 5, and they're stuck on it. More than that, not even that. They have grown up with horses their whole life. Now somebody's coming along and saying, hey, I think a car might be pretty badass. I think a car might be better for you. And they are flipping out because they're used to having a horse, right? That's all. They're not defending the system because they like it. They're defending the system because they're scared. Oh, unshared. Yes, I am glad you asked. Matthew, I didn't know where that was going, but shit, man, that's why I have this stat up here, right? Well, Monta, we're fixing it. We're changing this, y'all. We can go back to where the way things used to be. because I'm going to go through a quick diatribe and then I'm going to hit how to fix it. Y'all, grocery stores didn't always dominate all of our food. We used to have local markets. Insurances and doctors didn't always go through giant multinational healthcare corporations. We used to connect with them in our community. Because here's what the shit is. All corporations are middlemen. Corporations don't add value. They're not the Farmer John or Farmer Jessica out there in the fields every single day doing the hard work. They're not the doctors and the healthcare providers. God damn, Matthew. They're not the doctors and the healthcare providers that want to see you stay healthy. These corporations don't care about you because they're incentivized for profit over people. They will fuck over your entire community. They will let your parents pass away because they'll make a little bit more money on their health, on their profit margin. But you won't have a father anymore, right? They will put Parmesan, they will put sawdust in your Parmesan cheese. And then they will manipulate and brainwash people so much that people like Matthew still defend them when they put sawdust in your Parmesan cheese. Vitamin Water said in a lawsuit that no sane person could think that vitamin water was healthy. It's named fucking Vitamin Water. Sawdust works better, but yeah, non-food. But the whole reason they can do that is because they know there's no consequences, right? Unshared, we are changing it right here. Because right now, we know for a fact what the issue is in America. It's not that there is enough of us. It's not that people love corporations, right? Unshared, it's not like we've got 30% of people. Well, I mean, we do. It is. We've got 30% of people that are doing this. But the other 70% of us, guess what? We just don't have any other options. That's it. We don't have any other options, so we have to stay in the system. Then a lot of us, the system is just our habit, right? We're used to going to the grocery store, and there's no other option. So this is what's amazing, and I need people to stay with me. This isn't just done for charity. You can make money off of this. And you're not exploiting the community. Because unlike the corporation, you're adding value instead of extracting value. You care about the people. That's the number one thing. There is a whole business. There is a whole market that wants them, that like communities want you to care about them. You could start a whole business, and as long as your business model is, I'm going to care more about my community, and that's what's going to get me customers, you will win. You can literally call it cost plus food, just like cost plus drugs. Everyone loves cost plus drugs because it is transparent. It is telling you, yeah, these drugs are way marked up from the other company. From us, I care about you. So I'm going to give you these drugs at our cost plus a little markup. And let's do the same for food. That's it. That is it. Eggs, healthcare insurance, it's everything. So Shan, what you do is the whole goal is you get 15 to 20 people in your area. That's it. 15 to 20 families. And if you can get 2 or 3 of your friends that all live in your area to each get 15 families, shit, then you've got 45, 50 families. Here's what you're going to do. All you need is about 20 people to start, 20 families. And you want them to commit to buying eggs locally. You go, hey, corporations hate us. Corporations sell us all of our food, but corporations want to make profit, not make us healthy. They sell us crap and they lie to us about it. So let's just stop shopping at the grocery store. We know it's not possible to stop shopping at the grocery store completely right away. So let's start with one product that makes it easy. Let's do eggs. Would you be down for buying your eggs from a local farmer instead of the grocery store? That's it. That's all we're asking people. Would you be down to buy your eggs from a local farmer instead of a grocery store? Because we think most people would, and the only reason they don't is because a system's not set up. A system's not set up where all you need is 10 or 20 people, and then you call a farmer. Hey, farmer, I've got 20 people that want to buy a dozen eggs. Shan, you can make money off of this. This can be a fucking business. This is where people should get excited because you're not going to make a lot of money right away, but you could make 20 or 40 bucks a week for helping a bunch of people get local eggs. God damn, they would be so happy. And then if you can get 3 or 4 of your friends to each get 15 or 20 people, well, then you've got 80 people. You've got 100 people. That's 1,000 eggs a week. The farmer's happy because a CSA is so expensive because the farmer's doing all the work, y'all. A CSA's, but DJG, we've got it for you. We've got you in the people department. We just need somebody that's motivated to make some money and make a difference. That's it. We need people that want to make money and make a difference. And you know what? This is why I know this is going to work, because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to make money and they want to make a difference. This isn't activism. This is activation. It's not going to be a goddamn chore. You're going to be excited about it because it's going to solve a problem in your community, because it can make you money, because you're screwing over the corporations at the same time. This is how many people have signed up for this. We just need people to help build it. Well, and then Jen, imagine if you're getting 1,000 eggs a time, 2,000 eggs a time. What you do is you come to the Discord. We are just putting out the list or the step-by-step guide of how to do this. And this is what people's mindset needs to change. Just because we are replacing corporations with local options doesn't mean it has to be a charity case, right? Doesn't mean you can't make money off of it, right? It just means that you're not going to exploit and extract. And the only way that you exploit and extract is essentially if you make money off of a community that does not live in that is not in your area. Like basically, if you don't care about the people that you make money off of, that's it. As long as you care about the people that you make money off of, and you would say, I would never do anything to screw them over. And then here's the idea. You started off yourself, but then you say, this will be a co-op if it gets big enough. If you've got 3 or 4 friends that you want to start it with, then it can be you say, all right, yeah, I'm starting it myself, but I'm going to turn it into a co-op if we get 50 families a week, if we get 100 families a week, because then you can make 100, 200, 300 bucks, depending on what you're doing. And that's the only way we're going to get people excited about this, is if it is not activism, if they don't feel like they're doing a chore. Oh, I got to go and do this for the community. No, you're doing it for you. You're offering a service that works for other people. What's up, Corbin? We're talking about how these food buying groups could really also be a business idea, because people want to buy local. They just don't have an option. And if you're going to do the work to get groups of people together to buy from a farmer, you can make a little bit of money off of that. You start off 15, 20 people. You don't even have to know anybody. Put up flyers, go to local places. And then, but here's when we talk about this, right? Mev, appreciate you dropping the me, because your salary is probably the exact same as your cost of living. Or your salary is a little bit less than your cost of living. And then what do the trolls say? What do they point out? Well, you should just live within your means, right? Why aren't you just living within your means? Why don't you budget better? I know that if you add up your food, housing, and healthcare, that it ends up being higher than your salary, but why don't you budget better? Oh, you literally don't make enough to live? Why don't you just go get a better skill? Why don't you just move somewhere else? What is your problem? And it's like, motherfucker, I worked at this job for 5 years. I got there early. I stayed late. The boss told me that if we started making more profit, that I would get paid too. And I can't help that I've asked the boss for a raise and they tell me no. And the boss only tells me no because they know that I can't go somewhere else. They know that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And that if they just tell me, hey, do this or you're fired, that I have to do it. That's what we're not understanding. Freedom is the ability to say no. If you can't say no, you're not free. That's it. If you are stuck at your job and you can't tell your boss, nah, I'm not coming in till you fix it. Yeah, and if you fire me, I've got 6 months of savings. I'll be all right. I'll find another job. But most of us aren't in that position. So when the boss makes us work 15 days in a row without a day off, we just have to deal with it because we don't have the ability to say no. That's freedom of choice, right? And the biggest choice you can make is to say, I'm not doing that. But if you don't have any money and your boss tells you to go do a disgusting job, you can't say, I'm not going to do that. Because the boss says, all right, I'll find somebody who does, right? So that's where our economic situation is literally what's holding us back politically. Because the strongest thing that we can do is say, screw this, I'm not participating. Think if you're living with a roommate and that roommate is dirty and nasty and not paying, what do you say? You say, look, I'm not going to pay the rent. I'm not going to participate until you do better, right? You have a partner, a husband, a wife, you're telling them, hey, this is not working. I'm leaving until you fix it, right? Well, Sandy, we're going to turn it around and we're going to get the people together at the front because we absolutely have what we need out there. People want them. But what if you had people buying, what if you had 50 people buying a dozen eggs a week? Could you sell it for a tiny bit less? That's kind of what we're talking about, is if we can get these groups of people together, then maybe we can hit the exact same. And what it is that, Sandy, you've got the product and then you try to go market it. We want to flip it. We want to flip it. We need to get the people together first, get buying power. Because if you're selling, 50 dozen eggs, if you're selling 90 dozen eggs, maybe you can work on that price a little bit, right? That's where, because I don't know what you're talking about. We're not talking about companies or profit margins. So I do work. This is what's so funny. I do have my own business. I've got 30 employees. So I don't need to work because my employees do the work for me. But then I started thinking, damn, I love my employees so much because they do the work for me. Why don't other companies love their employees so much? Shouldn't they be like, this is great. I pay them some money, I get all my time back, and I still make enough money to live. I care about my community. That's what it should be, right? And that's what's so funny is the boss is the one that decides whether you get a raise or not, but then we blame the employees. That's insane. And we blame ourselves, right? How many of us have busted our ass at a job for months, if not years, if not a decade? And then after busting your ass at that job, having to check your damn bank account before you go to the grocery store for all those years, you see the cost, you see the profit of that company go up and up. But then when you ask for a raise, what do they say? There's not enough money, right? They say there's not enough money because that corporation doesn't care about you, because that corporation is not incentivized to keep you as an employee. That corporation is incentivized to extract as much from you, to take as much from you as possible, and give it to the people that are already super rich. So essentially, they need you to make money, right? They need you to make money, and then they screw you over every chance they get. CJ, but what we have to understand is that they made that culture on purpose. Gordon Gekko and Greed is Good was not an accident. And then what they've really done is, CJ, they figured out that even if we want to bite the hand that feeds us, the only way that we can do that is if we have money. Because the strongest thing that we can do is say, screw this system. We're not participating. It's almost like we're pushing a car. The economy is all of us pushing a car. But every time we push that car, the politicians and the CEOs driving it, they run us over every single time. So politicians figured out that, damn, we keep running these people over, but every time we run them over, they say, screw this. If you keep running us over, we're not going to push your car anymore. So they figured out, let's make it so that they have to push our car, right? That's all they did. They made it so we're completely dependent on them. If we had an option to go buy food from not a corporation, the majority of people would. That's why we're putting together food buying groups. If we had the ability to buy our healthcare and buy our medicine and buy our insurance from not corporations, the majority of us would. There's just not an option. That's where we say America isn't failing because people are asleep. America is failing because of lack of options. The corporations bet on the fact that the majority of us were not around in a world that corporations do not control everything. So if majority of us were not around, we're like, oh no, what do we do? What do we build? Well, we actually just go back to the way things were. It's not hard at all. Because there used to be local markets before we had grocery stores. There was cable before we had streaming, right? Not that that's what we're going back to, but... And we didn't make these changes because of a moral argument. This is what's crazy. We try to have a moral argument with people over whether they should participate in the system. We are never going to convince 30 or 40 or 50 million people to think the same way, to either be a part of the system or remove themselves from the system. Because people do things not out of moral arguments, they do it out of habit. They do it because the math changes, right? People didn't go from local markets to grocery stores because someone called them up and made a moral argument to them. No, we changed from local markets to grocery stores because the math changed, because grocery stores are better, right? Because we don't have to drive to 6 different farmers. The corporations, they go and they buy all the food from the 7 or 8 farmers in our area, and they put it in one centralized location. And for a long time, it worked because they sold us convenience. CJ, I would really like for you to join the Discord. And for a while, it works because they sold us convenience. But really, it actually worked because that corporation was a part of our community. That was it. So we said, all right, corporation, we'll let you control our food. We're a little bit nervous because we do need that food to live, but your founder grew up here. Your founder started this local school. Your founder loved this town, and we know that your founder would never let anything bad. Oh, a private equity firm just bought the company? Oh, that company has no connection to our community anymore? Oh, that community or that corporation only cares about profit? That's what happened. Corporations lied to us, or they actually made it work for us for a little while. The only way this could happen is if corporations made it work for a little while. So they said, Hey, we'd really like to control your food because we'll make it more convenient for you. When in reality, they wanted to control our food because if they control our commodities, if they control what we need to live, then they control us, right? The people that write the laws don't control you. The people that control your food control you. Imagine the pharmacies make all the corporations make all the medicine. Millions of people need insulin to live, and corporations could just be like, no, we're not selling you insulin. That's our product. We're not selling it to you. But it's like, what? I need it to live. And it's like, I know, we don't care. We are here for profit, not for whether you live or not. And that's what's so crazy is they've taken things we need to live and they charge us not a little bit of money, but more money that we can afford because they don't want us to have savings, because the strongest thing that we can do is to have savings and say, screw this. I'm not participating until you fix it. So they know if we don't have any savings, we can never do the thing that is the most powerful and the most easy, which is sitting your ass at home. That's all that we want. That's what we think would change this country in like a week or two, is if 100 million people stayed at home. But that's how they know that half of those people would have to go back to work within 2 or 3 days because they need to afford food. And the other half of those people would go back to work within 4 or 5 days because they need to afford housing. And what this really does is we've got a couple different options. We need to talk about this openly every single day instead of fighting each other. I'm so sick of blaming people for this. This was many different things over many, many years. Health insurance is the worst, Angela. This is our food is what's crazy too, right? Our food is what's crazy too. We need good food to live. Not having good food has hurt our mental health so much. Not having good food has hurt like everything. And so, but then Drew, what we're doing is we are building what we need. This is a way that you can make money. You can make money and help your community. And we will not turn into those extractive corporations, because the biggest issue with those corporations is they don't live near the people that they serve. Because that's the difference. Is extraction versus adding value is whether you pay your employees enough to live, because all those people should have more than enough to live, and whether you're adding value or taking value. And if you're the person setting up food buying groups so that 100 or 200 people can get local eggs and local food, damn right you can make some money off of that. That's the goddamn motivation. This is what corporations were banking on that didn't happen, that we had millions of people excited about building a new system. Because the way that they've always told us to build a new system before is, well, nobody gets to make any money. You have to give. Well, shit, motherfucker. I know that if somebody figures out a way to sell eggs, I will pay extra for those eggs because I don't want to buy it at a corporation. And then you know what else you can start doing? If you sell eggs and all these people want eggs, start selling them soap. Start selling them laundry detergent. Start selling rags. You can just start saying, this is replace the corporations. It's not going to be everything, but it's going to be some things. And I'm doing this small little thing, and maybe you can do it too. Y'all, this is a way to make money. You make money, you help the community, because this is what it is. Well, that's really what it is, Josh. People hear activism, and they think it's annoying. They think it's difficult. They think that it's literal charity giving to other people. I hear activism and I'm like, dang, I think this is a fucking business opportunity here. Because what it is you get 20 people in your area that want to buy eggs from a farmer instead of the grocery store. Here's your pitch. I'll give it to all y'all. Corporations hate us, except corporations control all of our food. We're trying to get groups of people together that want to get their food from a local source instead. We can't get all of our food right away from a local source, so we're going to start with eggs. Would you buy your eggs from a local farmer instead of a grocery store if we made it comparable? Most people would say yes. Then you get 15, 20 people. You get 15, 20 people. They don't have to commit to buying every week. They can choose every week. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's their ordering window. And they can choose whether to buy that week. Pickup is on Friday. So all you do is you see how many people ordered on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You send the amount of orders that paid over to the farmer, right? The farmer, you say, all right, we got 80 dozen eggs. The farmer brings 80 dozen eggs to the pickup site. Pickup is between 2 and 5. Boom, 80 people got a dozen eggs from a local farmer. You helped set it up. You helped 2 hours, and you made some money off of it. Now imagine if you get 3 or 4 people that all find 20 or 30 families. And you decide that, hey, this is a co-op that we're creating. From the very beginning, if this business got big, I was always going to turn it into a co-op. So if anybody wants to come and start being their own business owner, come join my co-op. Fellow, I changed it because I thought last night, I go, God damn, if somebody's doing all this work to coordinate with the eggs, they should make some money. And I think I've been afraid to say that, but like, not a lot, but like, yeah, when you got 20, 30 people, maybe you're making 15, 20 bucks. But shit, when you got 80, 90, 100 people, because we need the service that the corporations were offering. We don't want to have to drive to 10 different farmers to get our food and our eggs. We want to be able to buy with different people to get a better price. It's just that the grocery stores have taken it so far that they believe that they are owners of that food rather than stewards. 100%. And that's what this is we should have groups of people that say, no, we're going to take our systems back and we're going to make some money from it too. Because we are going to, well, that's where it's like we should be the middlemen. That's what this is about. It's like corporations have become the middlemen and convinced us that they add the value. What we need to do is we need to become middlemen and understand that we do not add the value, that we are stewards of this process. That our goal is to make sure the community has food security for the next 50 or 60 years. CJ will be able to offer what the corporations offer. Corporations don't pay them that well. It's just that farmers sell to them out of habit. I've actually talked to 3 or 4 farmers already, and they have been like, yeah, most farmers just do it out of habit. But you need some sort of a middleman. Because we aren't going to go back to like Amish country. And I know that the majority of people would probably pay a quarter more if they didn't have to drive to 7 different farmers to get their food. So the people that is doing all the work to drive to the 7 different farmers, to advertise to 100 or 200 people, to get them to buy the food should have a tiny little bit. It's a coordinate, and that's where it's called cost plus is what it should be. The same way that Cubans started cost plus drugs to show people that, hey, here's the cost of the food. The markup is a quarter because the person doing the hard work should get some money too. Cost plus food. That's what it should be called. Cost plus food. Because that's all it is. It's our cost plus the cost of the food. And that's what we're selling it to you. People would buy that shit. We should have 1 million small businesses. And here's the thing. You don't want to do it with food. You can do it with online consignment stores. Right now, we talk to this team like 3 times a week. We give them all of our children's old clothes. We give them all of our old clothes. They sort through it and tell us how much that box is worth. And we can probably make $70 off of this. We can pay you guys 25. So they're making $50. We get $25 off of things that we would have just donated anyways. And then the best part is people in the community don't have to go buy new clothes from corporations. And then the people that are running the online consignment shop, they are adding value too. Because think, if I needed 8 new sets of clothes for my 2 little girls, I'd have to drive to 8 different people's houses. And I'd be driving all over there to buy a shirt for $3, to buy pants for $1. So it's really the time that it costs more than anything. But this online consignment shop, they have centralized locations that they're at every day during the week. So we know where they're going to be. So I buy something and I go, oh, I don't need to go drive to that person's house. I can pick it up on Tuesday from the local grocery store because that's where they are, right? That's what it is. Cade, you are so right. Because what people don't understand is that our economic situation directly affects what's happening politically. Because in order to have any freedoms, in order to have any options, you have to have money, right? You have to have money in order to have options. So they make sure that the people don't have any options, that we don't have any money. Because if you're broke, you can't say no. When your boss knows that you're one step away from financial ruin, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to call Angela first because Angela said that she has to, keep this job or else they won't have any money. So Angela, come in tomorrow or you're fired. And you can't say no because if you don't have any money, you're stuck, right? And then every time we bring this up, what happens? People point fingers. Oh, it's the red team. Oh, it's the blue team. Oh, it's this group that's causing the problem. Oh, it's that group that's been causing the problem. Y'all, this has been going on for 40 or 50 years. Both sides have had their chances. Both sides work for the corporations. That's it. Yep, BlackRock is the one in charge. Because what actually it is the fact that they are good cop, bad cop, right? Good cop, bad cop. But both of them work for the same corrupt billionaire. Heather, you could not be more correct. The ultra wealthy completely dominate the economy. They make sure there is absolutely no other competition. Because there is no competition, they don't have to pay us a good salary. They can buy up all the homes. Then if we owned the media still, if the media was for the people instead of for profit, we'd be able to call this out and the majority of people would be in the same reality, right, to fix the problem. So the ultra wealthy figured out, because the ultra wealthy control everything. So the ultra wealthy figured out that if it was just the media or just the economy, and we owned the media, that enough people would be aware of the situation and know what the problem is, and we would fix it. So the very next thing they did was start a disinformation campaign to get us thinking that there was actually 1,000 different issues going on in America, that it was brown people and black people or people, immigrants or people that think differently than you or people on the blue team or people on the red team. They're the ones causing the issues. It's anybody but the ultra wealthy. It's definitely not us. I mean, the ultra wealthy control the jobs. The ultra wealthy control the healthcare, the media, the politics, but it's definitely trans athletes causing all the problems in America. Because they want us fighting over the diagnosis. They want us confused as to what the problem is. Because if we keep fighting over all this shit that doesn't matter, we never talk about the actual cure. It's like if some people think it's an earache, some people think it's a backache, some people think it's a congenital heart disease, you're going to all choose different options for a cure. And the fact that everybody is doing different things is actually going to hurt you. And that's where it feels so heavy when you figure this out, right? It's like, what can we actually do about it? They sell us food that isn't really food. They cut corners everywhere they can. Healthcare is based on profits, not on people. What do we actually do? Heather, I talk about it all the time. The factory owner's kid is destined for a better life than the factory employee's kid. How many people that were as smart as Einstein have died working in a factory because they didn't get the education that they need, because they were born to an employee rather than an owner? So what we have to recognize is, number one, is that our language is power, y'all. Greed is the disease. It's not left versus right. It's up versus down. We are the economy, but the economy works against us when it should be working for us. Cade, anything that they have done, anything that wakes up people to the fact that they're the ones that do the hard work. Because, Cade, I think of it like this. Construction workers are the easiest way that you can see, because who provides the value? The employees hauling the bricks and hauling the concrete, building the cabinets, running the plumbing, doing the electrical, or the guy sitting in the truck. So they knew early on that if the guy sitting in the truck had to compete against unions and those workers actually understanding that they bring the value, that their profit scheme would not keep working. So they kept us angry, they kept us dumb, and they got rid of anything that worked to show people their value. And unions were the same one. That's where, Cade, we are forming tenant groups. All of this shit is here. So, and that's the problem. Sargent thinks that getting up and striking 24. So this is the problem. People think that doing anything is just as good as doing the right thing. This is what's held us back for 30 or 40 years. People believe that doing anything is just as important as doing the right thing. We are trying to say, let's slow down and let's not just do anything. Don't do things that don't work. Why don't we coordinate our efforts? Because the biggest problem is that people just go and do something. Think of it like a highway. And we all need to build this highway together. But if a bunch of people just go and start building a highway without planning where it's going, without talking to each other, without coordinating the end goal, then that highway is never going to reach its destination. You'll just have 10,000 people all laying pavement and concrete without any kind of unified direction. So we've got two different we've got two different avenues that people can take. So you've got things you can do now, and you've got things you can do later, because we want to do things now to express our frustration and push back against the system. But often the things that we are doing now are not what's going to solve it long term. So we have people that are putting pressure against the system, protesting, striking, building mutual aid networks, educating people. That is the now. But unless you also build a structure that those people that are in the now, that feeds into it, because what people eventually start asking is, what more can I do? What will solve this long term? And the only thing that will solve this long term is getting more options that are not corporate options. What will solve this long term is not more corporate grocery stores, it's more local grocery stores. What will solve this long term isn't more corporate healthcare doctors, it's more local healthcare providers. But if it's the lack of alternatives, if it's the lack of local options that keep corporations in power, well, y'all, corporations aren't going to just go ahead and build corporate options. Corporations are going to do everything they can to keep us from having local options. So even though there's this huge avenue for people to make money and provide value and offer a service that the community desperately wants, corporations will never step into that lane because that will compete with the corporate model of extraction that just takes from the very same people that creates the value in society. So what we need to do is get people excited about the new system. We need to stop arguing that a car is better than a horse. Because if we are having a moral argument with somebody who believes that a horse is better than a car, you're never going to win. Because they didn't reach that place from thinking. They reached it out of habit. And the only way you change your habit isn't from a moral argument. You change habits when the math changes, when it becomes cheaper to go buy your food locally, when it becomes easier to go buy your health care from your local doctor, when it becomes safer for you and your community to control the things you need to live, because the corporations control everything that you need right now. They control all your food. All corporations have to do is say, you can't go to any corporate grocery stores. You can't go to any grocery stores owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, or State Street. And then the majority of you wouldn't be able to get your food. And they can do that because think, if we had options, if they were like, you can't buy from a corporate grocery store anymore, and we had local options set up, we'd be like, who cares? See ya. We'll go buy it from our local store anyways. That's how it should be. The corporate option needs to be just that, an option. But right now, it's the only thing. We depend on it. So if you're just joining us, we are building the community that we need to fix this. Oh yeah, Snarky. They do anything to try to screw us over. Because it used to be that protesting and voting worked when politicians worked for the people. Politicians do not work for us at all. Politicians work for the people that pay their campaign, that fund their campaign. And the people that fund the politicians' campaign are the god dang corporations. Absolutely, Angela. Because anything that can disrupt the corporate stranglehold. If every single one of us realized that we could save $50 a week by planting all of our own food, a lot of us would do that because previously we weren't desperate enough to do that. But now they know we're desperate enough. One thing I keep thinking of, Angela, is we should have farmers markets in every single grocery store parking lot. Because competition is what creates innovation. Competition is what creates customer service, right? Competition is what creates better products. Competition is what drives that grocery store product manager to buy better tasting oranges. Because if they are going to be the only place in town that sells oranges and they're selling them for $10 a bag and they taste like crap, well, the only way that they're going to sell those for cheaper and for better is if there's a local group down here. And y'all, it's so funny because what people do is they get so upset. They're emotionally immature, so they get angry and they push back. Well, then, Snarky, I think the problem is when people have a farmer's market available that is efficient, and comparable, they will use it every time. But I think the majority of people just either don't know about that farmer's market or don't have one available to them, because people don't want to be shopping at corporate grocery stores. They just don't have a farmer's market available. And I know that there is a business opportunity for people that want to start micro farmers markets. There should be micro farmers markets. And then the goal of the micro farmers market should be to join with another micro farmers market. So at first you've only got 20 or 30 families, and then you join up with another micro farmers market that's 15 miles down the road, and now you have 45 families. And then you join up with another micro farmers market down the road, and you get 55 families, 65 families. Except what the people controlling those, and here's the difference. Here's the difference between somebody making a little bit of money coordinating a local's farmers market and somebody making money off of a supermarket. One of those groups of people lives in the town that they are serving, right? One of those groups of people cares about the community that they are working with, right? One of those groups of people is trying to make as much as money as possible, right? Because they're trying to make profit. They're doing this for profit, whereas the other step of people is doing it for the community, right? All it is people starting a small little system that works for them. It's not like corporation skimming money from a distance, right? What it is it is someone local, someone accountable. Well, that's where Little Miss Meat, we are encouraging people to build your own. This is what this is. If you are struggling, if you hate corporations, if you don't have money, and if you want to fucking change this, here is an option for you. You get 15 or 20 people and you say, hey, corporations suck, but corporations own all the grocery stores in this area. We are starting a food buying group for people that want to buy their food from a local farmer instead of a grocery store. Now, we're not going to do everything to start, but we're going to start with eggs. Would you buy your eggs from a local farmer if we help set it all up? That's it. You're looking for 15 or 20 people. Would you buy eggs locally if we made it just as easy and comparable to the grocery store? I know that is a business idea because so many people just want other options. They just want other options. And right now, the grocery store is their only option. So if you got 15 or 20 people and you gave them a better option, so Snarky, we start small. The last thing you want to do is get someone who's excited and then you lose faith, because with beef, you've got to keep it cold. With beef, you've got to weigh it out. With beef, there's 1,000 more variables. So here's what it is. We will walk people through this. You can make so much, you can make money off of this because you start with eggs and say you get 40 people to buy eggs every week. And in the beginning, you're only making maybe 50 cents off of the transaction. So you're making 20 bucks. And then after you've been doing eggs for 6 months, then you add in meat. You just don't want to add in complexity before you've earned trust. I promise you, I am a business owner. I've got 6 locations. If I needed to do 50 different things when I first started, I would have failed. What you do is you do one thing and you do it really well. Then when you've got the process down for that one thing, people will naturally start saying, hey, do they sell any veggies? Could we buy some meat? And then you slowly add it in. We don't try to replace the one of the biggest things is they try to replace the whole system overnight. This system has taken 50 and 60 and 70 years to get to the entrenched position that it is in. What we need to do is understand that we're not going to fix it all overnight, but if we decouple percentage point by percentage point, right now we're 100% dependent on the corporations. Once we add this, maybe we can be 99% dependent. Then we start adding eggs and we start adding meat, and maybe we become 95% dependent. And then we just start adding direct primary care, right? We have online local consignment shops, right? We have all these ideas. You can make money off of this. You won't get rich, but you'll be providing a service to the community. People will be excited to have that option in their town because people don't start, right? People don't go to grocery stores because they want to. We go to grocery stores because there's no other options, right? That's the problem. So what we've got to understand is that they keep us so boxed in economically. We don't have savings because that means they have control over us. Because having savings is the ability to say no, right? And not many people can say no to their job. Not many people can say no to the local grocery store. Not many people can say no to their health insurance company. We have to rely on corporate options. And because we have no other alternatives rather than corporations, corporations have us stuck, right? They control everything. And because they control everything, because they have us stuck, we can't stand up and push back. There you go, 7-Eleven. And that's all that we want, is to have the majority of people have access to that local butcher shop, because that's what needs to happen. And it's so funny because people will still be confused, thinking there's 1,000 different issues going on, right? Taxes, bankers, all these different things, local government. People will blame it on everything. But what they are doing is playing right into the hands of the billionaires, playing right into the hands of the ultra wealthy, because they want people thinking that it's taxes. They want people thinking that it's banking. They want people thinking that it's all these other problems besides the issue that it actually is. Because if you think that it's an earache and somebody else thinks it's a backache and somebody else thinks it's a knee problem, meanwhile, it's congenital heart disease, you're never going to find the cure that actually works. So you're against Trump, but you support the corporations that support him. That doesn't make any sense. Because corporations are the ones that are in charge of this administration. Corporations are the ones that are in charge of the politicians. Because politicians are beholden to the people that pay their campaign financing, right? Politicians are beholden to the people that pay their campaign financing. So if you are just joining us, what we are talking about is why don't Americans have any money? And why is it that 80% of people don't have any savings, but they blame the actual people? It must be something that 80% of people don't have savings, but the stock market goes up and up, but the salary doesn't, right? The stock market goes up and up, but the salary doesn't. And the problem is that what they are selling us goods and services for is completely divorced from their cost of goods sold. What they are, their profit margin is way higher than what it costs to produce it. Their profit margin isn't based off of what it costs of. Their profit margin is based off of how much they want to make. Because they don't care about you. Because the only reason that people put their profit margin close to or near what it costs to make is because of competition. Because, if we raise our prices too much, people won't shop here anymore. But if we don't have any competition, if we have nowhere else to go, we have to shop there, right? And this is what you'll hear. You'll hear the same bullshit. They'll say, people are living outside of their means. But you know that person has the wool over their eyes, because all you have to do is add up the average rent or the average mortgage, the average electricity bill, the average cell phone, the average health insurance, and then add all those up and see how much it costs per month. And then look up the average salary. And you'll see that the average cost of living and the average salary is the same. Because if you don't have any savings, you can't say no, because you don't have freedom of choice unless you have money. You can't walk into a grocery store and feel free if you can't buy 90% of the things in there. You're not really free if you can't quit your job tomorrow. You're not free if you're unable to start your business, because starting a business requires savings. And we've already gone over how they've set up the system so that we do not have any savings. I know, fella, I've been here for an hour 15. So we can go back through it though. It's just the current people are not here in good faith. So Wicked Torch, good to hear you. Because what happened is we used to make about the same amount of money that we brought in for the company. That's really what happened. We got more productive. They took all the money. So it hasn't always been this way. And when we say, why hasn't it always been this way? Not at all, CJ. Not at all. So this is where CJ, I appreciate you. I would really, just, if you want to, join the Discord. I know I'm harping on you hard. But Mokalandia, Americans Against Trump, the other person here, it's just as CJ, I used to think, hey, as soon as somebody sees this, right? As soon as somebody sees this, they'll wake up. Surely, once they see the facts, they'll wake up. But they didn't get here from a factual point, right? It's literally like this person grew up with horses their whole life. And CJ, we're inventing a car. We just invented the car. And so now we are going to this person that grew up with horses their whole life, and we're sitting there trying to convince them that a car is better. Now, number one, CJ, you and I have better things to do. Everybody is going to want this car, because unless you are emotionally attached to horses, you'll easily be able to see that a car is better. So that's why we don't spend our time arguing with people who are emotionally attached to horses. Man, I think that's the best way I've put it so far. So the people that are emotionally attached to this system didn't get to that place from a point of logic. They're emotionally attached to this system simply because that's what they grew up in, simply because that's the only habit that they've ever known. So if you sit there trying to convince someone to leave the only thing you'll ever known using a moral argument, you'll never win. What you need to do is change the math. And that's what we're doing. Yeah, because what it is, CJ, the majority of people do not want this. It's just that they don't have any other option. That's what we've come down to. Even the people that are acting crazy, you know, that act like they want this, right? Even the people that, there we go, right on cue. Even people that are crazy like them, they can push back against us as much as they want in the comments. But imagine the people that control your grocery store legitimately caring about you. Fuck, imagine your doctor legitimately caring about you. Imagine your health insurance company legitimately caring about you. Like, I know it sounds weird, but like, imagine that food company legitimately trying to make you healthy food that's good for your body. Vivid, I'll assume that you are asking in good faith. The point of this is, it's pretty a lot actually. So this is an economic pushback group that is frustrated with the way things are in America. We are frustrated with the way things are in America because we don't have any choices, and we don't have any choices because they keep us broke. We're all broke because the corporations don't have any actual competition, because they ran the mom and pop shops out of business. How did that make us broke? Well, competition is what leads to increased salaries. Because if you walk into Walmart and that Walmart employee gives you the stink face and is like, get the F out of here, and then you can't leave and go shop somewhere else, right? If you walked into Walmart and that Walmart employee gave you the stink face, damn, if you could, you would walk out and you would go to Ruby's General Store. That is a great name for a general store. So I hope you don't mind. So you can go to Ruby's General Store. Well, shit, Walmart is going to start paying that employee enough to smile at you, right? Walmart's going to go, all right, we tried paying the employees $19 an hour and they still did not care. But Target's the same way. Target is also owned by a corporation that doesn't care about you. Target will screw you over any chance you get. All of these corporations. So this is why we don't want to go to corporations, because corporations don't care about you, Vivid. In fact, corporations actually don't like you actively because you have money that they want, and they want you to give them all your money. So that's why corporations control all the food. Because corporations know if they control your food, they control you. Vivid, that's why all of your medicine is controlled by corporations. All your health insurance is controlled by corporations. Health insurance companies are the easiest to see because health insurance companies actively don't want to make you healthy. They actively want you to not have that procedure. But why are health insurance companies incentivized for you to not live? Why are health insurance companies incentivized to make sure their patient doesn't get better, right? And that's all that we're saying is these corporations are incentivized for money. They do not care whether you live or not. It's the pharmacies, it's the health insurance companies, it's everywhere along the way. It's the pharmacy benefit managers, right? And then how do we get to this position? Well, number one, anytime we bring up the fact that corporations are incentivized to make money, corporations are incentivized to screw you, that is true. So, but when we then recognize that our economic situation turns out to be control. The more money you have, the more power you have. So corporations figured out if they control all the jobs, they can control all the money that we have. Because one thing, Vivid, our entire economy is basically controlled by 3 companies. You can look this up, but over 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders. So the same companies all own the entire economy. So, but corporations are people, but they're people that rely on other people. Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. So here's what it comes down to is you can own a factory, but unless you have 1,000 people to run that factory, then you can't produce anything. That's the big difference. You can be a factory owner, but you have to have 1,000 people to work for you. And unless those people don't have any savings, then you better make it a pretty nice place for them to work. But that's why they make sure we don't have any savings, because then you can't choose where you're working. Remember, if you don't have money, you don't have any choice. Money equals freedom of choice. If you don't have any money, you don't have freedom of choice. If you don't have freedom of choice, you don't have freedom. So if you don't have money, you don't have freedom. But money, making Mitch, the main thing is you can't buy local. You can't buy your gasoline locally. You can't buy your car locally. It's really difficult for a lot of people to buy their groceries locally. You cannot buy your health insurance locally. You can't buy your medicine locally. All of us pay our rent and our mortgage. That goes to giant banks. They're not local. So that's what we're saying. All the commodities aren't local. Everything that we need to live is owned by a corporation, and that's by design. Because if we could just boycott our way out of this, then we would. But that's why they own all the food. So we can't boycott our way out of this. And remember, it is not just one issue. If somebody says, if we end the Federal Reserve, all of our problems will magically go away, I don't think that's true. Ruby, would love for you to join the Discord if you can. So, mom of Izzy, I will give you the exact reason that farmers markets charge as much as grocery stores now. Because the people starting them are starting them to make money. Because the farmers have to do all of the work to market to the people. The majority of work that a farmer's market does, think about it, it's not the farmer driving their vegetables and setting it up at a stand, right? It is the advertising of getting people to come to that stand, of working with the customers, of doing all the work. That's what we are bringing to the business owner, to the farmer. We are saying, we've got 50 people that are desperate to buy food from you instead of a grocery store. Can we just start off buying eggs from you? That's it. Because the main goal is to get people to stop participating from the system. That's the goal, is to get people to stop shopping at corporations. And you can do that by going, oh, corporations hate you. Corporations want to screw you over. Or I started like that. I should have started like that. Or we could do it by saying, hey, corporations control all of our food, but they don't seem to care about us. We're forming groups to get people. We're forming groups of people that want to buy their food locally. We can't change all of it right away, so we're just going to start with eggs. Would you want to join this local food buying group where we buy eggs together? Well, that's what it is, DBJ. If those places have those things, that's great. A lot of places don't, or if they don't, their actions. There you go, Mitch. And we want to make that system easier for everyone. And here's the thing. Mitch, say you get 20 people. Say Mitch gets 20 people and they go, hey, I buy my eggs and milk from the neighbor down the street. Would you want to buy your eggs and milk from the neighbor down the street? And say you charge 50 cents extra on that eggs and milk. So you're getting, 30 people, you're making $15 a week, right? You're making $15 a week. Not much, but you're not doing anything for it. But what you're doing is you feel good because you're providing a service to people. You are helping 20 people get food and eggs and healthcare from a non-corporate option. And that's what we're trying to do. And then the fact that they are no longer using the system, that's the extra part of it, right? Because that's what really matters. That's what really is fixing it long term, is that all those 15, 20 people that are buying eggs and milk every single week from a grocery store, Every single one of those, when you're getting it from a local farmer, you're dropping out of the system, right? That's what it is. And as you'll see, you always see people that get angry when we just say corporations don't care about you. That's all we're saying. Corporations don't care about, corporations do care about me. Or most people just want to be a contrarian, I guess. But that's all. If you can sit there and argue that the health insurance company has your best interests at heart, you think the health insurance company has your best interest at heart, right? But Mitch, you grow all your own food, you build your own car, you buy your own gasoline, you get your own electricity, you get your own water, you get your own medicine, you get your own health care. That's where, Mitch, I'm just saying that everybody relies on the system. You've used the system. If you've used roads, you've used the system. If you've driven in a car, they make it so that you have to use the system. If you've driven in a car, you've used the system, right? If you've bought food from a grocery store, you've used the system. Every single job depends on another job. We're all a part of the system. I get that a lot on our videos. They always comment, if you are dependent on the system, then you're stuck. And I'm like, so you grow all your own food? So you make your own, you don't get in a car and go to work every day in a car that somebody else made on roads somebody else paved? When you get hungry, you don't go to a grocery store. You don't go buy food that somebody else grew. We all rely on those people. We're all interconnected. The only way we can achieve independence is through interdependence. We have to understand we are all born as helpless babies, right? We all rely on other people. That's a fact, Jack. And the more that we understand that cooperation is the key to success, the more that we'll win. Because the only reason we're in this situation right now is because 1% of people figured out that if they cooperate, they can literally dominate the rest of us. And that's all that's happening, is 1% of people have cooperated and they dominate the rest of us because of it. Kevin House, appreciate you. DBJ, I mean, you've got the mass blackout. That's like a big part of this too. The mass blackout is the umbrella organizations. We've got 100 organizations that are all feeling this, that are all a part of this. We have so many people. Let me see if I can pull it back up. Right here, this is how many people have signed up for this. And this isn't just some kind of like pie in the sky. The actual step-by-step guide to start these food buying groups will be available in a day or two. And if the food buying group doesn't tickle your fancy, we've got the same way that you can start one for an online consignment store. This isn't activism. This is a small business. This is a small business that replaces corporations. And a small business is not extractive. A small business adds what it needs. Because the organizer of this is not extracting value. They are reducing friction. They're creating predictability. But Kevin, this is what's so funny, is I thought of all this as a business idea for a very long time. I'm a small business owner. It's the way I see the world. But I was afraid to mention this as a money-making endeavor because we link with the fact that, anytime somebody makes money, that's bad. But I don't think that's the case. I think that we need to see the crucial distinction between productive labor, between people being a part of the community that they serve, of people being accountable, of people saying, I'm a middleman. And the only way that I can stay in business is if I am looking out for the common good, is looking out for the other people. So yeah, I'm going to make sure the farmer doesn't get screwed, and I'm going to make sure the customer doesn't get screwed, and I'm damn sure as hell going to make sure I'm not the one doing the screwing. I couldn't not laugh after saying that. But This should be a business, y'all, because this is the way. I'll explain the online consignment next, because this is the way you get people excited. Because Kevin, because CJ, thank you for that. CJ, I want to talk with you more because I really like the way your mind works. So we meet every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right? Oh, no, Mitch, not at all. Mitch, you've come in with kindness and in good faith. Trust me, the people that come in against me, I know. They rip on me quick. So rain's dropping. I'll explain it to you. I will help you start this business. I am a business owner, and I've been looking like for so long. I've been like, dang, you know what I would really like to do is like help other people start businesses, because like I'm pretty good at developing organizations, and then I started in all this, and I'm like, damn, we need to replace these corporations. But like I was saying to CJ, I've been afraid to describe these as money-making endeavors because I didn't want to recreate the same system that we're leaving. But it's not the same, because this is localism, trademark fellow citizens. Corporations extract from us because they're distant, because they're far away, because they're not a part of our community, and because they don't care about us. You can make money doing this because all you're doing is making it easier for people. You're giving them something they already want. You're coordinating logistics. And most of all, you're accountable. You're accountable to the people that you serve. That is why I think I've been as successful in business, because leadership is servanthood. Leadership is service. People always go, oh, how's being the boss? And I'm like, I'm everyone's servant. I'm not the boss. I make sure that everybody feels good. I don't have a bunch of people making sure that I feel good. I make sure that they all feel good, because they need to be in the right mental position to work on my business. Well, CJ, I just haven't found that thing that's made people exciting and compelling. Excited and compelling. And I finally think this is the thing, because how do you make activism catch on like wildfire? You don't make it fucking activism. People want this. People want a way to make some money because we're already side hustling, and people want a way to fuck over the corporations. Well, here's both of them for you, friends. We want action, and we want community, and we want something genuine. That's most of all. I would pay more money. Well, that's where, fellow, when people get mad, like people have gotten pissed at me because they're like, you're just describing mutual aid. And I'm like, this is a rebranding. This is all this is the rebranding of the words and language that have been sullied for 40 years. Because working class power is what America has always stood for. But that's why they've spent 50 years making us believe that we ride on the backs of the billionaires, not on ours. Kevin, I would always pay 3 to 5% more especially for local, because then the money stays in your community. Think how much more that $5 could do in your community versus going to sit in some CEO's bank account. But that's where, fellow, I do feel like I'm in a unique position to be able to have with the business owning side and have this, but you don't shop local for everything. And rains drop spring. The whole point is, just because you can shop local doesn't mean everyone can. And we need to build systems so that everyone can. So whatever you have in your town that works for you, we need to learn it so we can replicate it. That's what it is. And then we're never going to get the point that we can do anything. But I'm excited about everything. But the more we decouple, the more power we have. You can be I'm not against corporations at all. I'm against people with hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm against people being extractive. That is, when they are distant from the people that they serve. When they don't rely on the community that they serve, because then they can treat that community however they want without consequence. When corporations are unaccountable to the people that they serve. And most of all, when they have all these employees that are helping them make their profit, but all those employees are on public assistance because they're not paid enough. So, Chris, we are not against corporations. I'm not against rich people at all. I'm not against having money. I'm against the fact that a lot of times people get rich because their employees show up for work every day and they have 50 employees and they make $10 an hour per employee. So they make $500 an hour. Meanwhile, and so they sit on their ass while they make $500 an hour. Meanwhile, their employees cannot make ends meet. So they go on public assistance and they go on medical assistance and they go on all these problems. They go on all these issues. CJ, I had to get it. This was our logo for a little while. If a company is successful, its workers should be too. And this is where the CEO is holding the dragon by the leash. And then look, we got the factory and all the workers are putting the money there, right? And so we aren't just talking about what is wrong. We are building what is right. People aren't stuck in this and then they pay the media to lie about it, right? We aren't stuck in this because we all love the corporate options and we just cannot wait to pay our health insurance every single month because, man, that health insurance sure takes care of us exactly the way we want it to. We are stuck in this situation because we don't have any other options. It literally says not luxury, the basics. The basics is food and housing and healthcare. But yes, Aaron, everyone deserves livable. And what it is, though, is everyone deserves a little bit more than livable. Because if you only have livable, then you don't ever have any savings. If you don't have any savings, then you are stuck. You are screwed. You don't have any ability to say no. You don't have freedom of choice. And if you don't have freedom of choice, you don't really have freedom. So if somebody only ever makes exactly what their cost of living is so that they only save $100 or $200 a month, then that person is stuck because they can never leave their job, because they can't move up. Because when you're barely hanging on to a job, when you're barely hanging on to a life raft, you're not going to let go of that life raft and potentially drown just so you might get a better situation. What you are going to do is wait until you've got enough savings, until you have security. The only way people can take chances is if they have security. So we've got to understand that our economic situation is what keeps us boxed in politically. That the most powerful thing that we can do is say, screw this, we are not participating. But if we don't have any money, we can't say that because we don't have the ability, because we rely on the corporation for the things that we need to live, our food, our housing, our healthcare, right? Americans are worse off. The Americans under 40 are the first generation in our country's history to be worse off than their parents. If you have not yet, give us a follow because we are not just talking about this. We are building what is right. Hop into the Discord because we are the system, y'all. We are the system. Mitch, either follow us or join the Discord. Would love to tell you about this. This is a way that people can make money and start the local revolution. That's what it is. Because we are the ones that make this run. We really are. We're the ones that are the economy. Think of what the economy is. The economy is a bunch of companies, and all companies are is a bunch of employees. BG, join this. This only works for the ultra wealthy. But goddamn, they need us to make money. But then they screw us over every chance they get. This whole thing only works for the rich. And then they make it feel like you're doing something wrong. They normalize this shit, right? It used to be normal to have your cost of living below your salary, but they normalize it that we're barely scraping by. Livable wage has become a word that we all use. Livable wage is literally how we got here, right? Livable wage is literally how we got here. Yeah, but spending it is difficult because the top 10% account for 50% of the consumer spending. Thank you, fella. Well, that's where I think we're finally hitting it, where I'm going to be a part of the mass blackout a little bit more, but yeah, we'll talk soon. So, and that's the question that we're asking: is the 1% broke the deal? That's what a job is. A deal. It's a social contract. Because there's two ways to run a society. Actually, I got to get going, y'all. Give us a follow if you haven't yet. I'm about to hop off. We meet every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Because that's where we get to know each other. That's where we build the community. So make sure you join. Check out the website every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Stormy, appreciate you having you here. Join the Discord if you haven't yet, because we are going to be starting these food buying groups. And this is not just a charity endeavor. This is a way that somebody can make money. And then say you start this thing. All you need is 3 or 4 other people. You're making a co-op with it. So it's not like they're employees. You all own this business. And then you start building a business that replaces the corporations. You can make money off this shit. Not life-changing, $300, $400 a month for doing a couple hours of work a week, and for providing a service to your community that they want to have anyways. This will sweep the goddamn nation, because we are not in this position because we want corporate options. We're in this position because we have no local alternatives. This is how we build those local alternatives. Make sure you give us a follow. Make sure you follow the Discord. We're going to do this with love. We're going to do this with happiness. We're going to do this with joy, because we've talked a lot about what humans need to live, and we've missed one thing. It's human connection. And that's the number one thing that these new organizations will be fostering: human connection. We'll get to know 100% H-Locks, because the point of because here's what it is. We have been told that if you give people the things that they need to live, that they will work less hard, not harder. If you give people food, they won't work as hard. If you give people a house, they won't work as hard. That is utter bullshit. We have this weird thing in our head that if we went through suffering, we for some reason want other people to suffer too. That's this whole thing of, if we give it to them, they'll be lazy. No, if you give people what they need to live, they're more productive. I've found this out personally with my business. I can pay employees $10 an hour, and they're not great at their job because they have no goddamn motivation. I can pay an employee $40 an hour, and they will make sure that they are doing everything that they need to keep that job, to stay locked in, to do what they need to do to fulfill their duties. And on top of that, if they fulfill their duties and make us more money, they get paid more on top of that, because I'm not the one doing the work to grow the business. They are. So if you're doing work that makes me more money, let's split the goddamn profit. But yes, universal income would be great, because then people would not have to go to work based on money. People could go to work to make a difference. I say all the time, how many people that are as smart as Einstein died on a factory floor because they had to go to work for money, because they couldn't go do what they wanted to do, which was study mathematics or change the world. They had to go to work to make money for some asshole because they weren't allowed to be given a house. Because if we gave that person a housing and food, they would be less productive. That is such bullshit. If you give people what they need to live, they are more productive. Explain to me how somebody not having food makes them more productive. Explain to me how somebody not having a house makes them more productive. So join the Discord if you have not yet. We are starting little small businesses all across the country that are going to change everything. It can make the person that starts it a little bit of extra money. You can offer an incredible service in your community. And more than that, it's going to give people an option that is not corporate, that is local. And it's only through having local options that we're going to fix the system. Because the system is broken right now, not because we don't care. The system is broken because we have no other options other than corporate options. So the more local alternatives that we can create, the more power we have to push back against the system, because life does not have to be this way. Life does not have to be this difficult. Life could be so much goddamn better if the economy worked for us instead of against us. I appreciate everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.